Three, two, one.
Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Becky and I do true crime videos. Today's video is on Sharon O'Callaghan and Becky Godden's murder. Now, this case is quite controversial due to the police work surrounding it, so I really would love to hear your opinion. My heart really goes out to both of the families and also the potential other victims and all of the other families, not even just related to this case and related to this man, but just every family that is waiting for a loved one to come home. Every family that is dealing with a cold case. And my heart is just really with you on this. Today's case is truly awful. It's just sad. And I had never heard about it before. If you don't know, I live in Scotland. This case happened in England, and I'm just really surprised that I had never heard of it before. As you'll find out, the murderer is a suspected serial killer. As usual, I will put up all the trigger warnings. Also, I have put in the description ways that people can keep themselves safe, especially in taxis. I know everybody relies on Ubers and everything in tracked taxis, but it's always good to read over because you never know. Share that with your friends, family, and make sure you educate yourself. But I hope everybody is staying happy, safe, and healthy. Sharon O'Callaghan was aged just 22 when her life was brutally taken from her. Sharon worked as a personal assistant and was remembered as a bubbly, happy girl who was always smiling. She was always dancing around to Craig David and Michael Jackson. She tried college after her GCSEs, but it wasn't for her, so she got a job in admin and really enjoyed it. Sharon was a loving sister and was like a second mother to her youngest brother, Aidan. Her mother believes Sharon would have been a fantastic mother. On March 19th, 2011, at 2:52 a.m., Sharon was last seen leaving the Suju nightclub in Swindon alone. She needed to walk a half a mile home to the flat that she shared with her boyfriend Kevin Reap, who is aged 25. At 3:24, Kevin sent a text message to her mobile phone. Cell site analysis later revealed that her phone was in Savernake Forest. At 9:45 a.m., Kevin contacted local police to report Sharon missing. The next day, the police appealed to the public for information and conduct a search of the 4,500-acre Savernake Forest. Over the next couple days, it was found that Sharon's LG E900 Optimus mobile phone had activated in a 6.5-mile radius of the mast at Cadley. Around 400 people, including Sharon's friends and her boyfriend, helped search the forest. On March 23rd, around 200 people attended a vigil for Sharon. Police made an urgent appeal to anyone who saw a green Toyota Avensis estate taxi on the day that Sharon disappeared, and if anybody had seen them, to contact them. Sharon had only walked 100 meters before getting into this taxi and was never seen again. The taxi driver was a man named Christopher Halliwell, and he was brought in for questioning regarding the abduction and murder of Sharon. CCTV showed Sharon getting into his green Toyota Avensis taxi outside of a nightclub. However, whilst the police were investigating Sharon's murder, they announced that they are now also searching for a body of another person who went missing from the same area several years ago. Halliwell was brought in for questioning. However, whilst he revealed the location of Sharon's partially nude body, he also offered to take police to a quote-unquote another one and led Detective Steve Fulcher to a field in Gloucestershire where Becky Godden's remains were found. Becky had been missing for 8 years. Halliwell, who was aged 47 at the time, was charged with the murder of Sharon. It was later found that she had died due to head injuries. On the 18th of April 2011, Sian's funeral took place and hundreds of people lined the streets of Swindon. On May 31st, 2012, Halliwell denies murdering Sian at the Preston Crown Court, but a charge of murdering Becky Godden was removed from the indictment. The judge ruled that the evidence gained following his arrest regarding Becky Godden was admissible, but I'll get to that in a moment. On the 19th of October 2012, Halliwell pleads guilty at Bristol Crown Court to murdering Sian O'Callaghan. He was sentenced to life imprisonment and must serve a minimum of 25 years. So, who is Becky Godden? Becky Godden was just 20 years old and 4'11" when she went missing. Becky was a sex worker who struggled with a drug addiction. However, this does not accurately describe Becky as a person, and also this makes her no less worthy of justice and does not mean that she deserved to be murdered. I don't know about you, but sometimes when I'm researching these cases, I just feel like depending on the line of work you do or the lifestyle that you live, the media and just people in general often make it seem that, oh, they were doing this, so in a way they deserved it. No, they are still a person. Becky was born in April 1982 and was a little sister. Becky's mother, Karen, described her as a sensitive child who was deeply affected when her parents split up when she was just 6 years old. Becky was a clever little girl, yet shy, and unfortunately she was bullied at school. Before the age of 12, Becky struggled with mental health and was referred to a child psychologist. However, there were happy memories. Becky was so excited when her mother remarried in 1997. She adored her stepdad Charlie and was proud to be a bridesmaid. Becky had aspirations of becoming a vet. However, she slipped into the wrong crowd, which led Becky to get mixed up with drugs. Her parents tried so hard to help Becky. They did everything they could, but she kept going back to that lifestyle. For several years, her family believed that she had moved to Bristol and didn't immediately report her missing. On January 1st, 2003, Becky was last seen alive getting into a taxi outside a club in Swindon after a night out with friends. Allegedly, jurors heard that she argued with Halliwell before getting into his taxi. It is believed that she was strangled and stabbed to death. Becky's head/skull has never been found. On January 3rd, 2003, Christopher Halliwell visited a GP with a swollen hand and scratches to his face, and was described as emotionally distressed and upset. He told his doctor that he had been in a fight with a customer who started kicking his taxi. Halliwell would return to Becky's body again and again over the years to make sure she hadn't been discovered. So, why wasn't Halliwell charged with Becky's murder back in 2012? Detective Fulcher, acting on instinct, had pressed Halliwell for details without cautioning him or allowing him access to a solicitor. This goes against the PACE guidelines. A High Court judge ruled this a breach of police guidelines and made Halliwell's confession inadmissible. The police now had to go back and try and find any evidence that would tie him to Becky's death. Luckily, the police uncovered an overwhelming amount of evidence against Halliwell, which meant the confession could be used. New evidence in the case centered around soil that was found on a shovel at Halliwell's home. A soil sample taken from a shovel belonging to Halliwell when he was arrested for Shan's murder in 2011 was not forensically examined until 3 years later. It was found to match the rare soil in the field where Becky's body was found. Police also searched a remote pond where Halliwell dumped Shan's boots after murdering her. They discovered dozens of scraps of material that are believed to be female clothing. There was also other objects found, which was identified as Halliwell's trophy store, but was not thoroughly investigated until 2014. Over that time, items had degraded and lost any forensic potential. There were also witness accounts to Halliwell's wounds, with his swollen hand and scratched face, especially when he visited a GP 2 days after Becky's disappearance. It was not the injuries that were suspicious, it's the fact that Halliwell did not report this incident to the police, despite reporting similar assaults in the past. Halliwell was jailed for life for Becky Godden's murder. Mr. Fulcher, the detective that broke the police guidelines, defended his actions by saying the conversation with Halliwell took place at a very tense moment. Any intervention at that time could have broken that momentary bond, and he could have changed his mind and taken another course of action. The families of the murdered women are divided. Shan's parents and boyfriend, along with Becky Godden's mother, Karen, have praised his unconventional methods. Karen says, had Steve Fulcher followed the guidelines, then Becky would have never been found, and Shan would have still been where Halliwell moved her body to. However, Becky's father, John, believes the former detective made a massive mistake. He says, I can't explain to you what they have made me feel and what they have done to me mentally. They have gotten off very cheaply. What they have put me through, this extra pain and suffering, nobody has been made accountable for it. He's talking about the detective and also the police force. So I know I've done this in a very backwards way, but I wanted all of the focus to be on the 2 women who were the victims. So I'm going to give you some background information to Christopher Halliwell. He was aged 47 at the time of Shan's death. He will now be 58 or around 59. Halliwell first became known to the police in the 1980s when he was convicted of burglary and sent to HMP Dartmoor. He became a window cleaner in 1987 after he was released from prison. Then he married his first wife, Lisa Byrne, with whom he had 3 children. In 2005, Halliwell divorced Byrne and settled down with his neighbour, Heather Widowson, and her 3 daughters. Halliwell began working as a taxi driver, which allowed him to cruise the streets late at night without coming under any suspicion. People who knew Halliwell were shocked when he was first arrested in connection to Shan's murder. He was described as a nice and genuine guy who always had a smile and would often be seen working on his car. A fellow cab driver said he would have trusted his own 2 daughters in Halliwell's car and appeared completely normal. His family and daughters were also described as nice. However, no one saw the sinister side of this respectable family man who regularly used sex workers. The sex workers who were picked up by Halliwell weeks before Shan's death said that he got rough and weird with them. Some got so frightened that they actually had to call for help. Law enforcement said that he had a brutal childhood and had issues with women. Detectives fear that he may have killed many more victims after he'd boasted that he wanted to become a serial killer like his idol Myra Hindley. Now I'm going to talk about other possible cases. Police said there is a distinct possibility that Halliwell was a serial killer. Wiltshire Police said that they will be speaking to other forces about more potential victims. Halliwell was an avid fisherman and knew Swindon and other surrounding areas like the back of his hand, thus bringing people to question if he dumped other victims in bodies of water or other locations. The public suspect that Halliwell murdered Melanie Hall, who disappeared after leaving a nightclub in Bath in 1996. Stephen Fulcher, which was the same detective that captured Halliwell, stated that Halliwell's pattern of behavior was consistent with this case, which entailed women walking alone at night. Melanie's body would be found in 2009, just off the M5 in Thornbury. There was evidence that she was bound with rope, which is consistent with Halliwell's interests. They also believe that Halliwell is linked to the disappearance of Claudia Lawrence in York. Halliwell's father lived just a couple streets away from where she vanished in 2009. Another possible case is Linda Razzle, who is aged 41 when she disappeared in the Wiltshire town in 2002. Her husband Glenn has spent 13 years in jail for her murder, but maintains he is innocent. It has emerged that allegedly, Halliwell was obsessed with Linda after doing building work at the Razzles' home 4 years before she was killed. Another potential victim was sex worker Sally Ann John, who is aged 24 at the time of her disappearance. She vanished from Swindon in 1995, and Halliwell and Sally lived on the same street at the time of her disappearance. Other possible victims: Tina Pryor, aged 39, T. Hai Nguyen, aged 20, and Sandra Bruin, aged 21. They have been missing for years. That is the end of today's video. I'm really sorry for this video kind of being in a backwards order, but I just really wanted to focus on Shan and Becky. If you want me to do a video on the other possible victims, then let me know. I would be interested in doing that. If you found today's case interesting, feel free to subscribe. But yeah, I will see you next week, and I hope everybody is staying happy, safe, and healthy. Bye!